I will now talk about the characteristic of the two rules. Their similarity is that both final values are approximate and estimated. Both rules approximate the function by a vertical line segments. Both final values accuracy increases as the line of line segments. In order to derive the y value, both methods are required to sub the x values into the equation. Now I'll talk about the differences. For trapezoid rules, approximate the curve graph by straight lines, which is calculated by trapezium. The least function value point needed is 2, and even or odd numbers of subintervals can be used. As for Simpson rule, approximation takes into the account of the curvature of the graph, which is calculated by parabola. The least function value point needed is 3, and an even number of subintervals is required. Now I'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the trapezoid rule. For the advantages, any numbers of data points, and it's more straightforward because it's the least number of data points needed is 2, and calculating straight lines is easier than the curved lines. But as for the disadvantages, using the same curve graph and numbers of segments, it is not as accurate as Simpson rule. It needed more segments, and that means it needed more segments compared to Simpson rule, which means more steps is needed for more accurate final value. As for Simpson rule, the advantage is that using the same curve graph and number of segments, it is more accurate than using trapezoid rule. By using less segments compared to trapezoid rule, the final values is more accurate. The disadvantage is that it must have odd numbers of data points, which means even numbers of segments, and less straightforward. The least number of data points needed is 3. Calculating curved lines is more difficult than straight line. Are there any other methods for computing integration numerically? Yes, there are 3 of the rectangular rules, Gaussian quadrant formulas, Chernusov-Curtis quadrant method. This is